And we should be live. I give it a couple seconds just to catch up.
Okay.
But the document
Let's
is
see here.
up and available. Um, we're both seen. So let me see if
Okay,
this.
watch live now.
There it is.
Yeah, I'd like to watch live now. Oh, there it is right there. Watch live now.
Ah, okay, yeah, we're there.
Nice. Oh, I see where I'm at now.
I didn't have time to mess with it, so that's just our short term. We got some breaking news when it comes to Reggie Wright Sr. It appears there's some kind of document that you just uncovered, RJ, and it says sentencing hearing. Can you fill us in on exactly what this is and what it means?
As soon as I turn down your speaker there. All right. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to see where I can get situated to make it make more sense here. All right. All right. So checking on the Reggie Wright documents because I was encouraged to follow up. We had a little bit of a small inflammation to the story here because we had our conspiracy arm of the team saying that there was something to do with a typographical error that was in one of Reggie Wright Sr.'s attorney's motions for a continuance. Continuances happen all the time in court, and they can happen for a number of reasons. I've seen all kinds of craziness in various court cases that I've been involved with. And ultimately, what you're talking about is attorneys' schedules, conflicts, and things like that. And so the court's pretty lenient on the attorneys as far as helping them to manage their calendars. In this particular case, Reggie Wright Sr.'s attorney was responsible for coordinating a funeral. And anybody who's been involved with a funeral or making arrangements for a funeral, you know that there's been very few things that can get in the way of whatever the funeral director says. You know, they have timelines. They got to get a body put away in a certain amount of time. There's timelines involved with this. So the attorney asked for some time to coordinate his friend's funeral. And for that reason, he asked for a continuance from the court. And generally speaking, it's pretty understood by the attorneys and by the judge when they ask for a continuance. It's not usually an extraordinary long period of time. It's just at the convenience of the court under the circumstances. So in a civil case, maybe it could be about 90 days, 120 days. But in criminal cases, they try to keep things moving along. However, some comments were made on a couple of different videos I saw where, because there was a request from the attorney to have a court date changed in September, then in his affidavit or his declaration in support of the motion, which always has to accompany a motion, you have to have a declaration to support it, that the declaration said, instead of saying September, it mistakenly said December, and somebody read into that like that was some big conspiracy or that the FBI needed to learn about that. So what we want to do here real quick, and I'm frozen up here, Jesse. Are you still hearing me? Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm clear again. So I was checking into that and finding out if there was any there, and there is no there. So just to let everybody know that. It was just a typographical error. The court understood. Pretty much everybody understood, but the people that made the video. So
now you're speaking about the typo that said September then December.
Right, yeah. It said September. He wanted a continuance in September till sometime in September in the motion. And in the continuance declaration, which supported the motion, it said December. And it looked like, if you read it verbatim, it looked like he was asking for a continuance until December, which would have been really odd and pretty much inappropriate. But it was, it was a typographical error. The judge knew what he was asking for and didn't see anything, didn't make any big deal about it at all, and neither should we. So there's no there. But at any rate, while I was looking at this document, something else jumped out at me. And as everybody can see on the document right there, you guys you need to look at it because it says the order is granting the defendant's motion to continue what kind of a hearing? A sentencing hearing. So now we're talking about something completely different because I didn't understand this motion or this hearing to be any kind of a sentencing hearing. Generally speaking, when you have these kind of hearings, they are a continuance for a pre-trial conference whenever they have conferences ahead of the trial. And it usually gives the court an understanding of, where you are. Do you have all the discovery you need? Are you ready to go to trial? Is your client ready to go to trial? and everybody puts their notes together. If not, then they check back in a couple of weeks. And this go on periodically throughout the court case. The fact that this is a sentencing hearing is rather odd, and I'm kind of right now just going to write this off as maybe just another a typo or an error here, that it may not be a sentencing hearing. But let's talk about it both ways, if it is or if it isn't. Normally speaking, you would never see a sentencing hearing until there's been a guilty plea, because that's when they set up your sentence. That's what a sentencing hearing is about, to give the sentence based on the conviction. If we take this at face value and say that this really is a sentencing hearing, which I'm still kind of dubious as to whether or not it is, if it is a sentencing hearing, then the likelihood of the situation would be, again, you can't have a sentencing hearing without a guilty plea. Now, we know for a fact that Reggie Wright Sr. pled not guilty in his arraignment. So he appeared and he pled not guilty. To have a sentence, you need to be found guilty. What that could imply, and I'm saying could because it is still speculation, I'm not there, I'm not one of the attorneys involved, that Reggie Sr. will be changing his plea from not guilty to guilty. And of course, the only reasons why that might happen is simply because, and we spoke about this on Sunday, that Reggie Jr. has had a sealed motion from the U.S. Attorney's Office, which we can't see, and neither can the other defendants. But whatever it is, they've actually continued his arraignment. So he hasn't even pled guilty or not guilty yet. But they've changed his arraignment date until November. Now, all of a sudden, Reggie Wright Sr. shows up for a hearing, and they're going to have it continued until Monday, September 18th, where that's the report date, which means he has to report either to the courtroom, or if they're allowing him to report by phone, he can do that as well, but he needs to report for a sentencing hearing. That could very well mean that Reggie's getting ready to change his plea from not guilty to guilty, and usually the only reason people do that is whenever they've struck a deal with the prosecutors. And I can only see that Reggie Sr. would strike a deal with the prosecutors if the deal was favorable to him. Let's say probation, let's say diversion, let's say anything that wouldn't require any jail time. So that's the yep. Yeah, no, Jeff Kean, actually, he has been arraigned. They arraigned Reggie Sr., not Jr., but Reggie Sr., they have arraigned him already. He actually pled not guilty. And that's the whole significance of this document, is that if this document is true at face value, and this is really a sentencing hearing, that means that they're going to kill two birds with one stone. They're going to change his plea and enter a plea of guilty and have the sentencing hearing, because everybody's come to an agreement on what they think the sentencing might be. And that may very well have been one of the conditions that Reggie Wright Jr. Is working with the prosecutor's office on under that sealed motion, which allowed his arraignment, Reggie Jr.'s arraignment, to be pushed 90 days. And like we said on Sunday, the fact that there's a sealed motion and a continuance of an arraignment usually means they're trying to figure out how exactly they're going to plea, and it's usually with a plea agreement at that point. Somebody's copying a plea, which would also usually indicate some sort of cooperation with the federal government. So, yeah, Jeff said, good. I'm glad you got that. That was actually a Reggie Sr. thing, not a Reggie Jr. thing. Remember, all these guys are being tried independently. There's 19 different people that are each being tried individually. They don't just all get up there as a group, and they're all, indicted at once. Each guy fights for his own. And so I think that in this particular case, what are we going to find out? Well, maybe we'll find out that maybe Reggie Sr. might have been, and again, it's all spin, but, maybe Reggie Sr., maybe his bank accounts were being used and he's claiming he didn't know they were being used. Or maybe Reggie Jr. is saying, well, he didn't really know they were being used. I used them without his permission, or, whatever. But at the end of the day, whatever they're going to say to the prosecutor's office, if this is truly a sentencing hearing, you cannot have a sentencing hearing without a plea of guilty. So
is it your opinion that both Senior and Junior are basically turning state's evidence against their co-conspirators?
you know, from what I'm looking at, and this is preliminary, but what I'm looking at, it doesn't look like Senior is turning any kind of state's evidence at all. It looks like Senior is getting a plea deal, and that he'll enter a plea of guilty just to get this thing knocked out. Normally, if they come to an agreement this fast, it means that maybe the evidence against Reggie Sr. may not have been as heavy as it was against Junior. It could have been. But at the same time, you know, when they are so quick to let somebody off the hook, it's because there's a favorable plea agreement that's been made with somebody, and Reggie Sr. is the beneficiary of that deal. So, you know, that's usually what happens. I mean, I could see a situation in which if for some reason Reggie was Junior, speaking about, was the guy who was being, you know, having the heaviest charges brought against him, or was seen to be the most culpable in the crimes, that whatever deal they're making with him, he could say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to cooperate unless you give my dad, Reggie Sr., who really wasn't involved too much. He did most of everything he did because I asked him to. You know, and he didn't know any different. When I asked him to go get money, I had money transferred to his bank account, blah, blah, blah.
Would that be considered like an act of good faith on the prosecution end to maybe, and this is all speculatory, but to maybe goad Reggie Wright Jr. into being more cooperative?
Well, it's usually the deal. The deal is, you know, whether or not they've done a proffer session or not with Reggie Jr. to see what he knows. Maybe he's already volunteered some information. Maybe he said through his attorney that he's got information. Whatever it is that is the basis of the motion to continue his arraignment for 90 days, which the judge said in Reggie Jr.'s case outweighs the public interest. The interest of justice outweighs the public interest, which is a very interesting way of putting it, which means they're working a deal. That Reggie Jr. In this case is, you know, offering up information possibly, and Reggie Sr. is the one that's just benefiting from that. And again, like you said, yeah, kind of a goodwill thing, saying, hey, you know, if you give us X amount of information, we find out it's good information, and we can roll with that information, then we give you this. Then if you give us more information, then we can give you, I don't know, time off or reduce your sentence, or it's a package deal. But they have to understand what the value of the information is first. We won't know that again until we get a copy of that motion, and we're working on trying to get a copy of that motion as we speak.
But it's good, in your opinion, and with contacts, I won't name them, but there has been some inside contacts that are very close to this case. In your opinion, Reggie Jr. is not going to get off scot-free in this mess. There definitely is going to be some time served.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sense that I'm getting from the people that I'm talking to that are inside and understand these cases a lot better than I do. Again, you know, you can't do these kind of things and be the head of the operation or the, you know, primary mover and shaker and just walk away scot-free unless the information you have is so absolutely damning that you're basically given a free pass and a witness relocation ticket or whatever the case might be. I mean, I've seen it happen, but I do think that they would not normally settle without some type of provable, demonstrable sentence there.
A special shout out to Life of PTSD, longtime supporter. I appreciate it, friend. Shout out to him. And did you want to kind of preview what we were going to do on the next live stream for those listening, or did you have some more that you wanted to kind of add to this Reggie Sr. case?
Well, a couple of things while we're on the line here, while we got people, check out the new video. Did the Pattons know Little Half Dead? You know, again, this is our commitment to actually getting back to work. Let's, you know, this is, again, who cares if Reggie Wright, you know, swapped money from a casino? Who cares about that? What we care about is we have a confession letter that we need to keep moving forward on, and we need to keep digging things up on. And of course, we went back to our behavioral specialist and Susan Constantine, and as another of the ongoing series of questions, the video that's out right now says, you know, were the Pattons lying when they said they didn't know who Little Half Dead was? Robert Soria claimed that Little Half Dead met the Pattons at a recording studio in Reseda, California, in the Valley. And he gave me the name of the recording studio. And, you know, it's hard to do when you're dealing with, you know, 15, 16-year-old information to go back and try to see if that's even possible. But when we actually looked at the studio that he talked about, that studio originally started as a recording studio for Priority Records. And as you know, that kind of correlates with what the confession letter was saying about Little Half Dead being sent to Priority Records. If that was a recording studio for Priority Records, and how would Robert Soria know that? That he went to that recording studio, and that's where the patent said that they met Little Half Dead, was at that recording studio. So again, very, very good information. And of course, they denied knowing Little Half Dead repeatedly. And so just check out the video, because I think we got some good stuff there.
Shout out to Jeff. Yeah, it did something for me too. He said that he literally did a 180, and it's 85% of the reason that he kind of changed his mind on the case. Susan Constantine is the best at her business, and I tell you what, once you see those tells, she likened it to a tea kettle. Once you see those fingers tapping and that body language, you can never unsee it. I think it's pretty damning evidence. Susan Constantine is a very reputable person, and I implore everybody to go check out that video. Next, the live stream, what we were going to do is, I've seen some allegations flying out there based on people not knowing the whole story. So we were going to read some comments, because I do read those comments that you guys put on these videos. I don't agree with all of them, but we are going to answer some of the more salacious and inflammatory accusations that are coming in the comment section. And so be on the lookout for that next Sunday, I believe. We're gonna keep it on Sundays. There it is.
Yeah, I think we're gonna keep it on Sundays. And the fart gun is here, but we're not using it today. Just wanted to make sure it made its cameo appearance.
My real gun is here, but I don't want the screenshots.
Right. So anyway, no, yeah, we're gonna, like usual, what we want to do is we want to get ahead of things and try to be straight up, rumor central here. Try to give at least a real check here on what's going on, based on what we know and based on what the evidence in the document shows. Again, this is a sentencing. It says there's a sentencing hearing. Now, you can't have a sentencing hearing without a guilty plea, just the way it works. So I'm a little dubious right now to find out if it's really a sentencing hearing, and I've sent inquiries out. Unfortunately, no one is returning those calls. The U.S. prosecuting attorneys are being bombarded by all kinds of kooks calling them, because they want to keep asking them about the Tupac and Biggie thing, because Reggie Wright's under indictment. And, that just gets them to turn their phone to voicemail, so nobody gets through. And I understand everybody's curious, but it is a little frustrating, because we'd like to know. So I'm working on leaning on my inside contact right now to see if there's any significance to it at all. And we may update this in an hour or so. I'm going to give him a call and see if I can find out anything more about this. And maybe we'll be back in an hour. Guys, stay tuned.
And you know what? I would love to tell him who it is, because it would blow him away, but I can't do that.
Can't do it.
But I will say, a lot of people have been asking, because you brought it up last live stream, are we going to stream
Greetings
Battle
to
for
Pyru
Compton?
619. Yep. Greetings to Battle. Greetings from Pyru 619. He's back again. Good to have you back. Let's say Nathan Jones real quick. I'm just answering some questions. Let's just run down some questions real quick. Nathan Jones, if your confession letter is real, how come it ain't been verified by any officials? Well, it actually was verified by the LAPD. They turned around and leaked it. Okay, that's what to me, that was their seal of approval. Because why would any police department ever leak evidence, even if it's bad evidence? Why would they leak it? Why would the LAPD condone leaking a letter? If they thought it was fake, they would do that. But why did they do that? They do that to discredit evidence and to give people a heads up. So they
and if you look at politics today and the leaks that are coming out of the State Department, you can see that leaks are done with an intentional intent to damage. So if they thought, hey, this thing is, we've already checked into this, it's no big deal, they wouldn't leak it with the intent to damage, and that's what it was done. That's why this is referred to as the half-dead theory instead of the patent theory. I mean, this was done with a purpose by people that are pros at it.
Yeah, and again, yeah, the patents do exist. They were interviewed. They're in the interview. That interview with the patents wasn't put up by me. That was put up by Kading and Dorsey. I mean, they're the ones who introduced the patents to the world. There they are, and interviewed them. So that's what we got there. Okay. So, did the Internal Affairs investigation bear any fruit from that? Well, you're talking about, Jeff, from the confession letter itself. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about from the leaking of the confession letter? Because if you are, and then there's a bit of a delay here. The truth of the matter is that I have the emails from it. What happened in that case was that the detective involved, her name was Dolly Swanson. The detective involved that was asked by Kirk Albanese, who was the deputy chief of police for the Los Angeles Police Department, he personally tasked her. He was in that meeting. He tasked her with the investigation of the leak and what happened with it. Once she confirmed that the LAPD had in fact leaked the letter, she was ready to get subpoenas on Darren Dupree and to subpoena Greg Kading for a search warrant on both of them to look at their computers to see if that information had been passed out of the LAPD to Mr. Kading. And when she went to do that, the LAPD denied her those search warrants, and at that became the end of that investigation because she couldn't go any further than that. She was very frustrated, very flummoxed by it. She expressed that to me. We talked on the phone, and so that's kind of where it ended up.
And it's very reminiscent of what they told Russell Poole when he was investigating police involvement in the Biggie murder. They told him no. Right. You're not going to do it.
You got to understand something too, because this is what you need to understand about the meeting that we had with the LAPD. There were 4 Los Angeles Police Department officials with Russell Poole and I in the meeting, and those 4 officials from the LAPD were Kirk Albanese, Dennis McCarthy, who was the head of Los Angeles Robbery Homicide, Kevin McClure, who was actually Greg Kading's supervisor on the Biggie task force, and one other, Darren Dupree. And those 4 were in the meeting with Russell Poole and I. That was the only 4 there. We were invited to the top floor of Parker Center, the new Parker Center, which is the LAPD's headquarters for all of you who don't know that. Up to the top floor, you know, they paid for our parking. We parked down in the police parking garage, went upstairs, and we gave the information that we gave, and then shortly after it was all done. All right. So that's what's going on with that. Yes, we will stream Battle for Compton. And no, I don't think that they answered anybody. I think that's the whole point of this. In fact, I got some more information today. I can't get into it right this minute, but I did get some information today. I'm hoping to get a copy of it that would imply that the LAPD is actually a lot more dirty than what it indicates. So kind of excited about that. Let's see. All right, so with that, let's just see if there's anything else that we wanted to hit.
But like I said, tune in next Sunday because some of the more salacious allegations are going to be addressed head on.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like you said, you know, we're not. I don't want to give these guys more fuel than they deserve, but you know, I think there's been some personal attacks that you know are part of the job, but we're going to talk about those. So more in a little bit. I'm going to call my contact right now who may have a little bit more information to share with me on the sentencing hearing, but we wanted to get it out there before anybody tried to, you know, play this off to be something more than what it was. So that's it.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by, RJ. Keep it locked, guys. We're going to be back this Sunday with some new content for you. And as always, thank you, Mr. RJ Bond.
Hey, and by the way, stay tuned on the channel. Keep looking over the next hour so we may have an update. Okay?
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.